Welcome to the Alita Reynolds Show. Today we have Kathrine Lee joining us, and she's here to talk about the upcoming film, Still Hope. It is such a great film. You have to go watch it. It's in theaters starting February 5th. It's so good. Thank you, Kathrine, for being here with us.
Oh, it's my honor. Thank you for having me.
Tell us how this film came to be.
It's such a great story. So, I have a dear friend of mine who is actually the producer of the film, and he and his wife, Lynn, were friends of ours, and we knew each other in business and then lost touch for a period of time. And then one day they saw on social media the work that I was doing in the anti-trafficking space, and they were like, "What are you up to?" So Brent came and visited and met some of the young women that we serve that have been courageous enough to really step out of and or be rescued, quote unquote, right out of trafficking. And he met them briefly on his first trip, came back a year later and saw the transformation in them and had a conversation and was like, what is different? You are transformed. And they both independently in individual conversations said, we learned to forgive. And he went home just kind of amazed by that, went home, and in his small little town in Missouri, there was a man visiting from India who had had this impression on his heart from God to write a film and a script about trafficking in America. He had flown over from India and was there in this small town talking to a friend and saying, "This is what God has put on my heart." And he was like, the friend was like, "I think my friend Brent just came back from an organization that does this very work about the healing end of it." And he and Brent met up, and what Brent had seen where we are were the scenes that this young man from India had seen in his heart, including a young woman swinging on this big swing. And that was a scene that Brent had just witnessed where he was with us.
Wow.
And they began this whole journey of faith putting this film together.
Wow. So what was his role in the film then? Was he producer? What role was he?
Yeah, so Brent has become the producer, and Enoch was the original script writer, and then he brought in some other people to help with that process. And then the film was born out of truly journey of faith, their journey of faith of we really believe God is asking this project to happen. And they poured their time and their talent and their resources into it to bring it to audiences.
You know, two men are being faithful and obedient to what the Lord has given them when a man from India goes to Missouri and has a vision about young girls in America on a swing, and then it all connects together. I mean, you can't make that up. That's a
Yeah.
crazy story, a God story that you can't make up. It's not coincidence. That's only God.
That's right. We actually have t-shirts at our ministry that the front says, "Come on, you can't make this stuff up." And the back of that is Psalm 77:14. You are the God of miracles. You display your power among your people. And this film is another opportunity for people to see really the miracles that God does in a human heart to heal this level of trauma. That's what I love about the film is yes, it shows this atrocity of trafficking. We need to be aware of it to stop it. We just have to look at the darkness for a moment so that we can bring the light into it. But the whole second half of the film is the healing journey and the power of forgiveness, but not forced forgiveness. Forgiveness in its time when someone is ready to receive that level of healing. It's just beautifully done.
Wow. Stillhopemovie.com. You can see the official trailer. You can buy tickets. It's in theaters February 5th if you're just listening now. So good. I mean, when I watched the film, I wasn't sure what to expect.
Mhm.
You just never know. Am I just going to watch the dark side of
Yeah.
this the majority of the film? And it just wasn't. It was something where teenage girls can and should watch, in my opinion, to be aware, to know what is going on, what can happen. We don't want them to live in fear, but they need to be aware of what is going on. And what I loved was the first maybe half was, okay, this is what's led up to this horrific event. And her life got flipped upside down in a matter of seconds. But the second half of the film was so beautiful to see the restoration, the redemption, the forgiveness, the love of God that came into her life. It was just so beautifully done. It's a very well done film.
Yeah, thank you. It was so cool to have whole team, up to even the media team that connected us, care about this film being trauma informed. Because the truth is, trafficking happens in lots of different ways. It happens through the foster care system. Unfortunately, parents sell their children for food or drugs money, right? It happens in so many ways. Of course, the way it was in the film is how it happened for the young women that we serve, but also more likely how it would impact the audiences that will see this film. And it opens up a conversation with your children. It opens up a conversation about healing and forgiveness. I mean, one of the things that test audiences said over and over when they left was, wow, if she can forgive, if they can forgive these young women that this story is based on, what about me? I want to forgive. This person or that person. And we actually have a whole forgiveness curriculum, both for survivors and for all of us, that I really say these young women and all that we serve are my sheroes. Like if they can overcome what they have been through, I'm not comparing my pain. There's no comparison. But what I can do is be inspired by their testimony, meaning their story, and I can say, what about me? And that's what audiences did. And so we actually have the forgiveness curriculum to share how do we walk these young women through a journey of forgiveness to even consider, because what was done to them is unforgivable, right? In our hearts and minds. And yet forgiveness is for the person granting it so that they can live free. And that's what you'll see in the film, the process of that, not the immediacy, the process of healing.
Yeah. And it is very well laid out in the film. Can you give us an overview of the film, just real quick, just in case someone hasn't seen the trailer yet?
Yeah, it's a young woman named Hope that is, for most of us that would see the film, going to be fairly relatable. She's in a core nuclear family. She is doing what teenagers do. I talk to a lot of audiences of young people and families, and kids don't tell their parents everything they have going on. And she's got some things happening where she's communicating with people, thinking that she's safe, and people pretending to be who they're not and using someone that would make sense to her, that would be talking to her. And yet it turns on her when she really deceives her parents, right? That moment of, I know more, I can be okay. Um, there's a moment of shift that happens, not to give the plot away, that then she does, as you said, her world gets turned upside down. And then of course, it's the journey of the darkness of this issue. And there are two distinct moments in the film that are uh, the young women that were brave enough because they want other people to heal. They want people to forgive and heal. Not only those that have been trafficked, they want to stop that awful issue, but anyone, like if we can forgive, you can forgive. If we can heal, you can heal. There's something healing about being an inspiration in sharing your story in that way. And so in the film, being able to see these moments of struggle and the moments of decision and or what they were forced into gives the reality so that we will rise up to the dark part and say, no, that is not okay. That's not okay for that daughter, and it's not okay for my daughter. It's not okay for the girl next door or my niece or the young girl that lives on my street. Right? I think sometimes people go, what does a trafficking victim look like? Well, it looks like those people. It looks like your daughters or your granddaughters or those down the street. And when you can relate, you want to do something like, oh no, we will rise up and protect. And yet we in our own journeys, when we heal and forgive, it's an individual. A community can come around you. And we have the privilege to do that at Pure Hope Foundation, at Pure Hope Ranch, where I am right now. But their journey, their choice, their agency to own their healing journey is so important to honor. And I think that's beautifully shown in the film and can be a great example to any of us watching it.
So good. So good. Tell me about Pure Hope Foundation and Pure Hope Ranch.
Yeah, so Pure Hope Foundation, again, the scenes in the film and the healing model that's shown is as a lot of what we do here, including don't lose as you watch the movie, or if you have seen the film and now you're listening to this, think about the advocates walking alongside these young women. It's one of my favorite things is the counselor, Jennifer, and the way she talks to the young women, the people that are just there side by side doing dishes together. We're hurt in community, but we also heal in community, right? There's community that is not healthy, and then there's community that will stand with you. And to see that power of community healing, yes, it's an individual decision to heal, and it's an individual's own timeline to forgive and to heal. But when you have people standing by you to say you're safe enough to heal, in fact, right here, right behind me, out this window yesterday, our young women that are here were playing in the snow. We had a big snow and ice storm, and they were sledding. And
That's so great.
I know, somebody said, wow, they're safe enough to play.
Yeah.
Oh, I just started bawling. It's
Yeah.
just like, yes, those are the moments where you have reclaimed, right? That's the still hope, the unbelievable title. She is still hope, no matter what happened to her. I am still Kathrine, no matter what happens to me. My identity is secure, especially when I know Christ, and He can transform that pain into purpose.
Yeah. I think so many people have unforgiveness in their life and they
Hmm.
don't realize how dramatically their life would change if they would find forgiveness
Yeah.
toward others, toward themselves. And the film does such a beautiful job of just showing that, like you said, the process of it. It isn't like, oh, okay, I forgave and I'm good and now I can move forward. It is a process of journeying through that and allowing Jesus to heal that forgiveness in their life as well. How does that
Yeah.
work for them? Like, share the
Mm.
actual process of that. What does that look like for them?
Well, it's such a great question. Thank you for that, because there really is a process that I have seen both first and foremost in my own life. I look at all the pain that was perpetrated upon me and places where I had to forgive. And God walked me so gently through this process that I'm going to share with you that then when I came here, I know I didn't have their story, but I was able to say, hey, this is what God did in my life. And it's simple and yet deeply profound in the curriculum. We go a lot deeper that is on the stillhopemovie.com resources site. But I want to give you the just because it's so powerful in and of itself. The first is head. We make a decision. I point here because this is the frontal lobe of our brain where that seat of choice. God gave us the power to choose. And that is a gift that was given to us, right? He gave us breath and He gave us choice. And when you can breathe again, because you're safe enough and you choose to breathe and regulate yourself, and then you say, I'm going to access that choice, not survival. That's this part of the brain, right? The amygdala, where you're in fight and flight and freeze. But I'm going to breathe and then I'm going to choose to forgive. That's head forgiveness. And we all have that power to choose to forgive. And that is cutting the chain off. I am no longer connected. You owe me a debt that could never be paid. You cannot restore what you took for me, but I can cut the chain to you. I can stop the poisoning of you or the hold you have on me by releasing you by choosing with my head. The second's a little harder for us, and you'll see this in the film in different ways, but that's the heart forgiveness where it's so powerful to be angry or bitter. It feels so much better than sadness, right? In some ways, because it feels more powerful. But sadness, God made for us to grieve, and He made anger too, right? It doesn't mean when you forgive that the justice isn't owed. Both of the young women that gave this trauma-informed care and consulted on the film put traffickers away. So just because they forgave didn't mean justice isn't served. But the heart forgiveness, I think, is where we wrestle with God. We just say, God, you have to help me in my heart to forgive, to let go of what this has done and to do the loss. So that heart forgiveness, we get to partner with God, and especially if you know the personhood of Christ and the power of the Spirit of God in us that is all love and light. When that floods your heart, it is tremendous. And we actually have a parable at the beginning of the forgiveness series that kind of takes it away from us, but in a parable way that makes it easier to maybe receive how that light can move in our heart without any effort of ours. And that then frees us to move to the third. So you have the head, the heart, and then the hand. The reaching out to put pain to the purpose. It doesn't always mean reaching out for reconciliation. Obviously, often that is not safe, but you can help someone, reach out a hand to help someone that's been hurt like you have. And that's just what these young women did, is they reached out their hand by opening their testimony up to all of us to say, I can forgive, I can live, right? And I can thrive. And that is what brings so much hope, is when we can put pain to purpose by connecting to healthy community and helping others that have been hurt like we have.
And that's the power of these women coming together in your Pure Hope Foundation and Ranch to be together in community to help one another walk through it.
Yes, and the other anti-trafficking organizations, when this all came about, my heart was so huge to say, let's help as many anti-trafficking organizations as we can with this. Let's connect with them. Let's collaborate with them. They're promoting the film. It's really easy to try to be like, oh no, I can't do that. What about my donor dollars, right? Because it's expensive to do this work. It takes a lot of investment of love and energy and dollars and time. And yet, it was super important for us to reach out that hand and collaborate together on the continuum of care in this issue, because the traffickers are organized and they collaborate. We need to be organized and collaborate too. And that has been one of the greatest gifts. I have met so many amazing warriors that love these young women and young men, right? This happens across the board. And that collaboration is important, and everyone can be involved in doing something in this issue.
I really honor you for doing that because it would have been okay if you just did it on your own and didn't collaborate with other organizations. So I would just, wow, what a testimony on your part to say, okay, let's bring everybody together. This isn't competition, this is collaboration. That's
That's right.
beautiful.
I'm big on raising up the heroes' hearts in men,
Amen.
and men work better, right? Side by sides, locking shields, going into a battle together. That raises up a man's heart, and then uniting the voices of women again, that we'll stop comparing and competing and start completing the work that only the united voices of women can do. I mean, look at you. You welcomed me onto your platform so that we could tell more people to receive this message. It's a gift.
Yeah, so good. You were talking about a story or a testimony earlier, and I just know the power of a story, the
Mm,
power of a testimony. A lot of times we get hung up on like before Christ, or we get hung up on the dark side, or what the bad side of it was. And the real power, though, is giving glory to God in what He has done to change us, to change these women, to change anyone who's been affected. And I just think that's really beautiful and shown well throughout the film. But
mm.
I honor you in making sure that part was shown so well throughout the film. It's the
Yeah, and
after effects, it's the light, it's the love of God.
yeah, and here's what's amazing. The miraculous part is, here's this young man, Enoch, in India, that God's putting this on his heart. He already had the vision of what we do here. What heals, heals. The Spirit of God, the love of God, reaching across literally the globe to then bring him here to collaborate that. We just got to affirm it. We got to say, yes, that's what it looks like here. Yes, we have horses. So they got to put the horse scene in. The horses are amazing. God uses all of creation
Mm.
to heal us. So it really is the Spirit of God moving in every actor, actress, everybody on the set. The final day of filming, we had the privilege of taking the two young women that the story is based on and going and meeting everyone that was on the set, and including Hope, who she was carrying these women's stories and poured out. She did such Luna, the actress, did such a phenomenal job with playing the character of Hope, which again is real people's stories. The tenderness of the moment of them meeting was one of the most beautiful things. Talk about uniting the voices of women. These two young women need to have their anonymity, right? They need to stay private and have their rest of their healing journey and the rest of their life not associated with this. But Luna could play the character to show the journey and to see them meet. And but then all the rest of the actors and actresses and the lighting guys and all the sound people, their hearts around this moment. It was so phenomenal to see because, right, we're all people and a narrative. That's why movies are so important to tell a story because we can give information, right? But when you take your daughter, who the average age of a child is 11 years old, that is targeted, the main character, Hope, is actually older than the normal age targeted for trafficking and deception and coercion, and force, fraud, or coercion is the definition of trafficking. And what's amazing is that when you can show them a narrative instead of just telling them, but they can see it on screen. Oh, maybe I shouldn't leave my phone at home or act like I'm texting a girl, right? Instead of the guy I'm talking to. And maybe I should actually tell my parents where I'm going to or not sneak out, right? All that narrative is way more impactful. That's the power of a film, a movie, or a story, to your point. Then it stays in the brain so much longer, the way our brains work, right? That information comes and goes, and we only absorb a short bit of it, but a narrative remains. And we all know that because we all have our favorite stories.
Yeah, so good. When someone walks out of the movie theater, they've watched the film, what would be the goal? What
Oh,
do you hope they take away?
excellent. This is from the beginning of God calling me to this issue. This is what he put on my heart. First and foremost, our individual revival. What about us? Where have our hearts been stolen away? Where have we given away and or deceived? Like, get with God, and where do we want to forgive so that we can be free? Where do we want to heal so that we can have purpose from our pain? And where do we want to connect? So the first would be, right, that individual work of release and revival, that head, heart, and hand process. The second would be get involved. That's another reason why we did the collaboration is some of you, you're right in one state, I'm in another. I moved from another state to here. So I have another home base aside from Texas. And so in your community, where is there anti-trafficking work going on? Google in your area. Certainly you can get connected with us or connected with many through stillhopemovie.com. Yet get involved, pray, donate, volunteer your time. There's lots of ways. In fact, the final part of the forgiveness series where we talk about reaching out a hand, there's an actual exercise you can do of what are my gifts and talents? Where would I serve in order to reach out a hand somewhere, maybe where I've been hurt, maybe not in the issue of anti-trafficking, but somewhere else. But go make a difference and serve, because when we serve, we heal.
Yeah,
And when we serve, we expand a community of healthy people that can go out there and make a difference in any issue.
yeah. Be the hands and feet of Jesus, right?
That's right. Beautiful. Absolutely. What right and what the enemy of our soul intended for evil, God will use for good. I've seen it over and over here.
Yeah.
I've seen it in a moment someone heal. I believe in progressive miracles and immediate miracles. Miracles are plan A, not plan B. So,
Mhm.
right, the I want to pray that in a moment somebody is disassociated and they come all of a sudden they're behind their eyes again, right? I've seen that with a moment with a horse, with our therapy dog, with a connection with somebody safe. You see a level of healing immediate, that immediate miracle. I've also seen progressive miracles. God spoke to my heart one time because I was like, why can't we all get the quick, fast miracle? Like I want immediate miracles. And God was spoke to my heart, apple seed to apple tree.
Yep.
Is it any less of a miracle just because it takes
Yep.
time? And those progressive miracles we watch with the young women that stay with us, usually 18 months to 2 years or longer, because we become family. But it's those progressive miracles of healing that we can all embrace.
So good. So good. Thank you for sharing about Still Hope. Go February 5th. remember, everyone listening or watching, um, we have to go to the films to support them so that more films can be made. I feel like I say that every time I'm on this podcast because I'm like, we have to go see them if we want more to be made. That's how it works. And that's our part. That's one of the ways that we can serve truly is by going. Invite your friends, make there be some awareness. Stillhopemovie.com in theaters February 5th. Kathrine, last thoughts before we leave?
Yeah, just the power of doing something. Just like you said, buy a ticket, buy 10 tickets. I have friends call me going, I bought a row, I bought out a theater, right? They're doing that's a beginning because that's going to create proceeds, that's going to create awareness that the proceeds portion of the proceeds of this film are going to anti-trafficking organizations. So when you invest in that ticket, it's not going into these people's hands that made the film. It's going through a funnel to anti-trafficking organizations across the continuum of care. So take action. Awareness isn't enough to make a difference. It's the beginning, but taking action is what makes a movement.
So good. Thank you, Kathrine, for being here with us today.
My honor. Thank you.